Huge greetings, Mercy Corps team. It's that time of year again in which we roll out the annual goals and objectives, which of course are part of our strategic roadmap. But before I talk about that, what I'd really like to do is tell you that I'm still feeling the glow of the global leadership gathering that we had in Abu Dhabi. What I took away is really the strong sense of how powerful Mercy Corps' culture is, what a real special organization we are, and how we have to work together to keep renewing, keep building, keep strengthening that culture. Because if we get culture right, then the strategic roadmap, our goals, our strategy, everything else will follow. Building off again the work of this year, building off the work of previous years, we're really renewing our focus on resilience, our focus on food security, our focus on youth, our focus on Syria, and then of course our focus on social ventures, which used to fall under the social innovations category. Those all have very powerful metrics around them. The second area that we are going to really focus on this year is strengthening our humanitarian efforts. I think we all felt in this past year that when we had kind of the perfect storm coming together of course, Syria, and then Philippines, and then South Sudan, and then the Central African Republic, all at the same time, we felt that our capacity was a bit strained and perhaps overwhelmed. And our humanitarian identity is fundamental to who we are. The moral mandate that it rests in is fundamental to who we are. So we're going to strengthen and invest in building up that capacity, not just as a team, but throughout the organization. Beyond that, this next year, we're going to be looking at how we can measure and document and in many ways gather the data that's necessary in order to demonstrate the impact that we're having. This has been an ongoing exercise for Mercy Corps, for our whole community for a number of years. And we're going to make some substantial investments in fiscal year 15 in order to try to get this right. This is always a work in progress. You never arrive at a perfect system. We've had a lot of effort going on in this, and we're hoping to roll out both in terms of a system and in terms of some common agency indicators and metrics that will measure the impact of our work. As you all know, we've invested in a number of years of building our capacity in terms of gender programming, gender analysis, bringing a gender lens to the work we do. We think we've reached the stage now where we need to really call this out as a critical organizational objective. This comes from so many of your own country plans, of the plans that have come out of our field offices. And so we have called that out. I encourage you particularly to pay attention to that, to make this real for us. It's so important that we get this right. We know how important it is that the relationships between men and women, boys and girls, and how essential it is that we get right who we work with and who we target. And that's what that goal is all about. Beyond that, we have other ways in which we're going to improve our organizational systems with IT and technology. Of course, we're going to continue to roll out our finance system and an improved HR, a people system. And so those things are happening as well. And finally, we're going to focus globally on building the kind of global partnerships with institutions, with the private sector, with key partners that advance our work, that bring in resources, and better enable us to have the kind of impact that we all want to see around the world. Of course, what's most important is this plan didn't drop out of someplace on high. It really comes from the field as we do the country plans first. And then many of you, through your own teams, have your own work plans, which are critically important. The strategic roadmap and the annual goals and objective, these really capture those things that roll up and require a whole of agency approach. Most importantly, we need to see this as a living, dynamic document We need to be able to make changes throughout the year, and we need to have the kind of feedback and conversation around these goals that make them real for all of us and enable us to do the best job that we can. So please discuss them within your teams, within your own country programs. Please give the feedback back through the appropriate channels to whatever of our headquarters are relevant and appropriate. And many of these have sponsors that have been called out, some on our technical support teams, some part of the executive team, the senior leadership team, but it's important that we have that conversation. I would also say that you'll see that we have made an effort in support of the 3 I's of leadership that we've talked about now for a number of years: impact, influence, and innovation, to put a higher level overarching goal that sets some targets for the next 3 years that we can all get behind and work toward. You know, this is the first time we've done this. This is a work in progress. And again, we would really appreciate your feedback, your input on these 3 overarching goals that reflect the 3 I's of leadership that we've called out. The final thing that I want to say, again, is just a huge thanks to all of you for the work you do, for the effort that you make, and for the way in which you make Mercy Corps such a special organization. I have to say, it is such an honor. It fills me with incredible pride and is just a huge source of joy to be working with a team as powerful, as so full of integrity, as so committed as this Mercy Corps team.